From high atop the mountaintop of Mount Manitoba, NotInHallOfFame.com presents How the Hell Did This Go #1?
Still not a mountain. Still not a mountain.
It's still a mountain. It's a mountain if I say it's a mountain. Don't make my molehill a mountain.
It's a medium high rise.
Are you paying the listeners?
No, I'm not paying the listeners. This is my opening. And again, I don't even know your last name. What the hell is this?
All right. Sorry.
NotInHallOfFame.com presents How the Hell Did This Go #1? And I'm your host, the owner, the operator of this wonderful website. And it's a wonderful website because, hey, I say it is. Kirk Buchner. That's me. With me as always, Brad Nelson, Andrea Tessmann, and who might you be?
Well, I will be whomever you want me to be. I'm actually Christopher, and so happy to be a guest star.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You were
Thanks for reaching out to my agent. You know, it's nice to be paid for once.
Well, I can assure you, Christopher Auger.
I can assure you, I'm paying you the same as I'm paying Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I thought he was going to get double.
Well,
he can have double.
No, that might work out.
I'm just sad that I went from first billing to second billing here. Like
top banana, on top banana.
Your bromance has just surpassed.
Me and Kirk, we got a rad bromance.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad this was a great podcast. I'm out.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, genius.
All right, so I only had 3 minutes in the pool. Did I win that or not? I don't know.
It's pretty bad when your podcast has got a dead pool. Kirk, what song are we doing?
Well, the one that I was just going to segue into that, Mr. Nelson, because you're the one who picked it. So please introduce said jingle.
Karma, 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 chameleon.
Britney Spears.
And Andrea, you were going to play the harmonica.
I could hear it in my head, but unfortunately, I don't have a harmonica. I could maybe find a kazoo.
Put your ear near the microphone then, so that they can hear it in your head too.
Yeah. Cricket.
Culture Club. A group. God damn it. 3 of you. What the hell was I thinking? Culture Club, a band that this was not their first hit. This was their 3rd hit. Biggest. I don't know if it's their biggest hit, but it's the most commercially successful.
Internationally, I think it's their biggest hit.
Second hit in the US, because Do You Really Want to Hurt Me charted, and then this one did. But
this
UK they charted.
Yeah. I think the only #1 in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so, yeah. And so how do we look at this? Culture Club came out of nowhere to the Western audience, and really for that matter, the British audience, in just really 2 years before. Boy George was, I guess, what you'd call a club kid.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that new romantic scene, which I love that music. I never would have fit in, though, because I just can't dress like those people do. I just can't.
Oh, neither can I, man. I mean, I can pull off a classy shirt, but that's about it.
And one day we'll see you do that.
Especially for me, like I was wearing my birthday suit that year, so you know.
All right.
You were fresh out the chute.
We know you're the youngest. Yes, I get it. I'm old.
I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah, look at him with all his hair and his whippersnapper attitude.
And that's Brad's actual voice.
Nice.
See, Kirk, you're not going to be the only target here.
Oh, I appreciate that.
No, Christopher finds the weakest member of the group and then, like a cheetah, chases them down, pounces, and rips out their jugular.
And let's face it, at my age, I'm considered a cougar. So
I gave you cheetah.
You and me both, sister.
Well, see, that's maybe if Christopher would have went with you on the cruise, you both could have worked your magic.
Oh, there you go, wing people.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So yeah, Culture Club comes out of nowhere. Now, I actually learned, I didn't know the new romantic scene. I knew the new wave movement and what have you, but I didn't realize that in the UK it was called the New Romantic scene. It was coined by a producer out there.
Mhm.
Because of the way they were dressed and stuff like that, like Spandau Ballet was in there and stuff like that. I mean, it encompassed a lot of, especially the UK groups that were coming out, because that sort of glam pop thing didn't really happen over here very much. It did wind up happening more once you had these groups coming up that were demonstrating large hit making ability. But I mean, the UK still had the monopoly on this.
Right, but a lot of them did make it. Spandau Ballet did make it over here.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Culture Club's an interesting mixture, though, because it's definitely got the new wave, but then they're almost trying to have some like, there's a little bit of like American R&B without the soul.
Yeah, but
it's a little too techno-y. What?
It was though, because in the British scene though too. I mean, like the soul influence in this band is out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And what Boy George was able to do, he didn't just sort of be like, he was sort of pegged to be a star by I believe Malcolm McLaren, who put him with Bow Wow Wow, which was one of his big projects at the time. After long after the Sex Pistols, they didn't really translate well over here either, but Boy George was meant to be a star. And how he put together this group, I mean, this Culture Club is always going to be Boy George, but the three backing musicians behind him are fantastic.
Very good, yes.
This is an excellent band, a very, dare I say, culturally diverse band, which is sort of why they're drawing from the Northern Soul element that they had. So it was the post-New Romantic. You still have the tail end of the new wave that he was doing.
You touched on the soul thing there, Kirk.
Yeah.
And what I found funny is that he was accused of plagiarism by Jimmy Jones for Handyman. Now, I went and listened to both these songs back to back, and I don't hear anything that's similar, really. I mean, you might as well say that Calendar Girl was being plagiarized for this, because even that has more in common with Handyman than it does with Karma Chameleon.
You know, that's the problem with, we see it in the movie industry, also in the music industry. When Karma Chameleon came out, they're setting, especially coming from Europe. We all know that when there's a band that's coming from Europe, they're either successful or they don't last. And he definitely lasted, because he set this whole new standard, this new look of what the 80s, and kind of going back to, the looks that they were bringing to America. Europe has always been 3 years ahead in the fashion industry. And America has always been left behind. So I feel like they brought this new look, which, we really started adapting to and seeing a lot in the 80s of, wearing bright colors, color blocking, shoulder pads, big hair, men or women. But with the music,
also the androgynous look as well in there, was something that Boy George brought to the forefront. And I mean, we saw it a little bit here in Canada. Like I remember in early high school, you'd have the new wavers and what have you, who were very close to the goths with the amount of makeup they'd plaster on. But the wavers were a little bit more colorful about it. They were like sparkle goths.
Yeah.
So Boy George himself said, okay, the music of Culture Club is described by George as the aim is to be creatively fluid, to make everything we do a little different. We want to be a bridge between white rock and black soul, adding that I want Culture Club to represent all peoples and minorities.
Sure.
And that kind of sums it up.
And for him at the time to say that was a lot more aware. Like he was a dynamo in an interview.
He was. But I think when we're looking back, though, to some of those points, yes, in 2022 eyes, you look at Boy George and you go, eh. In 1983, 84, it was that was not, and I remember this, that was not what we thought.
No,
Nobody
it
seen
really
anybody
wasn't.
like him before.
I think
No.
that's part of the success, though. I think you've got this extremely likable, beautiful human that's just doing whatever the fuck he wants.
Mhm.
And he's just so engaging. And then let's add MTV onto that, and really fun music video that is, there's so much that just, you're just like,
Yeah.
amid one
What's
of the
going
most
on?
homophobic periods of history, you've now got someone that, like, I know people that to this day are still homophobic who will tell you they like Culture Club,
Mhm.
Boy George.
Well,
that's
even like the closest thing we had to the razzle dazzle, I guess, of Boy George in North America was Cyndi Lauper. And I will go on about Cyndi Lauper because I love her.
Right. And we're going to do a big thing on Cindy at some point, because I have great guests lined up for that one.
Good. But we didn't see anybody getting up there and like Madonna basically just sold sex. Like
Right,
she's
but
like,
look at
I'm
this.
sexy, look at my tits, and here's a song.
But okay,
Yeah.
so we talk about the homophobia then, right? So Boy George was always gay. But back then, at that point, he didn't come out yet.
He said he
No.
was bi in an interview.
Right. But that's what he
Yeah.
had to say.
Mm.
But
He also said he liked tea more than sex.
But
say that.
So Karma Chameleon came out in 1983. That interview that he had with Barbara Walters about saying he was bi wasn't until 1984.
Okay.
So
Oh.
him being able to wear the look that he was wearing, let's give him props where it's deserved.
Mhm.
And it's still going on today. It's shock factor as well. I love the meaning behind what he puts out there and what they wear, how
Yeah.
they look, but it was also a way of self-expression. And I feel like the 80s was the best time to do what he did, because even if he was self-discovering who he was as a person, if he liked men or women, he could still be who he wanted to be. And everyone just thought, it's the 80s. Everyone's wearing whatever they want to wear.
But
Men
I
can wear
don't think he
makeup.
was necessarily self-discovering. I think he was more, I think he already knew who he was. He just didn't think that he could say, yes, I'm gay in
Mhm.
1983.
Well, I mean, look at what we came from. You got the early and the mid to late 70s of Elton John. Now, everybody pretty much knew he was gay. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, Freddie Mercury was definitely bi in that sense. But everybody chose to ignore that because, again, Elton and Eddie, both musical powerhouses. Liberace was so obviously gay, and yet everybody just overlooked that.
He was.
I hate to break it to you, Christopher, but I think maybe your network has been misinforming you.
I think because we dressed the same, it was so hard to tell. I'm not wearing my sequenced smoking jacket, but
Which is a massive disappointment for me, because as a fan, I was expecting the sunlight streaming in the window, glinting in every direction.
You're a fan of the jacket, not necessarily of yourself,
Well,
unfortunately.
off his eyes at the very least.
So, but it was an interesting time then too. But he still had to. He couldn't say now. No one gives a shit. But then he had to keep a little bit of a mystery. He had to, which is awful in some time. Andrea, you were sort of like saying the most homophobic period. I mean, I think go the decade before, then the decade before that, the decade before that, as we sort of progress.
I think maybe, yes, earlier times were very homophobic in a very covert way, in the sense that nobody talked about it. It was just it was frowned upon. Whereas the 80s, with AIDS and with everything happening, there was a lot of overt aggression and homophobia.
Okay, so let's look at the song itself. So the song itself has one thing that a lot of, and we've seen this as a pattern as we go, it's got that kick-ass hook. Karma, 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 chameleon. Come and go. You come. It is brilliant. It's just, it's so simple. Just repeating
And
this
having that
over.
stop, partway through it, karma, 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 chameleon, and then nothing.
Mhm.
Fill it with the harmonica on occasion. I mean, Andrea is the professionally trained musicologist here.
That is true.
So, you can probably speak to why it is so hooky far better than I can. But then you got the breakdown in it as well, where it's just a drum and it's just, it's a perfect cookie cutter top hit.
Which then let's go to the video. We were talking about fun videos. Knowing, because we now know what the song is about. And I think back then I never, like we always sort of look at, we all remembered the chorus. We didn't necessarily go through like what the song really was. And I think, Christopher, you were talking about that earlier, really this, or actually before we went on, it's mostly, And so if you want to sort of like tell that story.
Yeah, so the story behind it was, him being in love with someone, and
the drummer,
the drummer,
the contradiction between the two and the differences, and making up the mind, going back and forth. And karma is a way that it just comes back to us. But the thing about the lyrics, it's so smart, because if you really listen to it, you will also pick it up on a personal level. It's you could be with someone, because so many people are still closeted nowadays, and it's 2022, and they want to come out and they want to be with that person, and then they kind of pull back and they're like, no, I'm straight. No, you're not. But I love a song when you can really look at the lyrics and feel them and be able to relate to them, not just on what the songwriter has written for us to hear. Like, for example, you guys know who Heart is, right?
Absolutely.
No, we've never heard of Heart.
Okay, good.
But would you tell us about them?
Sure. Amazing bands. Parents used to listen to them, and I listen to them now. But there's a song, when you really listen to it, it's like, I can't believe she's singing a song about not being able to get pregnant. So she goes out to find a guy.
All I want
walk in the garden, plant a seed.
Oh,
yeah.
That song sucks.
So it's, the 80s definitely had some amazing music and very feely.
No, there was a ton of crap in the 80s, but there was some great stuff that basically was encouraging people, because the 80s was the age of rebellion.
The people in the 70s will tell you the same thing.
Yeah, but the 70s was counterculture revolution that was a watered down 60s. The 80s was, if you look at every single 80s song, a lot of it is teenagers rebelling against the parents in a much bigger and louder way than, smoking in the boys' room.
The only difference was that you could see it on video. That's the only difference.
Yeah, but the lyrics are more aggressively.
You're telling me the 80s were more aggressive than the 70s, when the 70s gave us the whole punk scene?
No. I'm not saying that the music was more aggressive. The lyrics were more aggressive as far as the rebellion end of things. Papa don't preach. Girls just want to have fun. When you actually listen to the lyrics, she's like, no, piss off, Dad. I'm going out. I'm having fun. I'm gonna be okay. And it was less so, because what did we have in the 60s? You had the car crash and tearjerker songs. The 70s, you had the smoking in the boys' room was about as rebellious as it got. Brownsville Station doing that one, not the 80s version, but anyway, yes, you had the emergence of punk and the extreme message that one carried with it. But I think the 80s as a broad stroke was more harmless counterculture almost. It's like, no, we're not here to fuck your shit up. We're just going to go over here and do our thing.
Well,
it's almost telling their parents how they feel. because it was such emotional songs that they came out with, especially, and let's face it, it's the one hit wonder 80s. So every song out there has been featured in a movie. Yeah, it's hard not to love them, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Can we talk about the video? Because and I'm sure we all sort of like rewatched the video.
Yes.
This
Kirk,
to
this
me,
is the third time you brought us back on track in one episode.
this will never happen again.
No, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Hops and barley haven't kicked in yet. That's all I can tell you. This to me, you know what I was getting? When I look back at the video, I was getting "Hey Ya" vibes, and here's where I'm going with that. "Hey Ya" is not necessarily a song that's supposed to be happy. But the video is, but the thing is so peppy. Same with this.
This one, I didn't like to talk about the lyrics for a second. I have all sorts of memories of this song, of course. We all do.
At your age.
But I never really, it's very unusual for me to not actually know word by word lyrics. My brain just absorbs them and then knows them forever. Looking at the lyrics of this, I was like, this is kind of sad and depressing. Like, I didn't realize it was about his push and pull love affair with the drummer.
John Moss.
As far as I was concerned, it was like kind of about, okay, being a chameleon and fitting in and like not rocking the boat too much. Because obviously Boy George rocked the boat a lot in terms of his appearance, but then also, you know, said he was bi, didn't come out, like he was hiding a lot of who he was at the same time, and he was hiding this relationship. And with that knowledge, going back and looking at the lyrics,
especially the line,
it's
"My lover, not my
freaking
rival."
sad.
Yes, right on the nose, 100%. "You're my lover, not my rival." Favorite line in that song.
Do you think that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, just because they were at odds in several ways about the direction of the band, about the direction of their relationship, and it's saying, I want to work with you, not I want to work against you. I don't want us to come to loggerheads. I want us to come to a compromise. And it's just, I think it's the strongest lyric in the whole song.
And because you have to also, like, every time a band finally makes it, the lead singer always becomes a star for the most part. I mean, we could sort of argue in Van Halen, Andrea, back in the day before.
Van Hagar exists, Brad.
It doesn't exist.
Yes.
You can't convince me otherwise.
Yes. And BB before Brad, when we sort of talked about that. You know, like that was something where Eddie was pretty much on par, but like here, not only was Boy George the star, he was the mega star in comparison.
Name one of the other band members except for John Moss.
What were they talking about? It's like, I mean, like, we are a great tight band and we get no respect, which is going to happen all the time. But I mean,
the front man always gets it. So when I suggested this song, I was kind of trepidatious about how this song would have been received when it came out, thinking that, you know, coming out of the 70s, coming into the 80s, it might have been a little bit, there might have been some animosity towards this. And the funny thing was, there was, from what at that time was like the far right, and we're talking about cowboy hat wearing, people who are exceptionally close to their cousins, basically.
They were reacting to Boy George, not the song.
Exactly, they're reacting to Boy George. That's 100% it. But other than that, like, this song was really welcomed in. Like it had no. There was a bunch of parodies that were done about, you know, how this guy was gay and he dressed like a woman and stuff like that to the tune of this song, which doesn't do any damage to the popularity of the song.
No, but that was more of a backlash towards him. But the video too, part of me wishes we didn't discuss it, because now this video is not fun for me. Because it just makes it made zero sense then.
Well, it's not related to the song, and it's supposed to be Mississippi. It's filmed on the River Thames.
fine, but I mean, like that's the least weird thing about it. Just okay,
Well,
it's 1870, and okay, we're all dressed in 1870 clothes in the U.S. except for
Except
Boy
what?
George.
Yeah, wearing his primary color pom poms and.
Because I think it was also a way for him to separate himself from everyone else who is all the same. You know, there's
Good
so many
insight.
different. Sorry.
I said that's a good insight.
You know, there's so many things, and I see it nowadays where people look way too far into the meaning of music videos. And, you know, I think he kept it straightforward. You know, you got a message, and he just put it out there. You know, this was
on this video. He didn't.
No, but on the video, what he's doing, I think, is it's the juxtaposition
Oh, I think-
of
okay.
him wearing what he's wearing and the
Yeah.
1870s people
Okay.
all basically dressed very similar. And so I think that's what he's saying, is that everybody's kind of dressed the same. This is how I choose to be.
But they are the colors of his dream: red, gold, and
Red,
green.
gold, and green. Red, gold, and green. E.
Please don't do that again.
That's a one-time thing. You're all
Oh,
right.
thank God.
But I do feel that this song went to number one based on the shock factor, as Christopher said, of Boy George himself and the video, because it was early days of MTV. You've got a fun video to watch, a catchy song, and it was early enough in the MTV world that you'd get a ton of play if you had something that was watchable, never mind fun.
It's eye-catching.
Yeah.
And I really think that I don't think this is their best song.
No, I don't either. I think it's good. I do have one question.
Really?
I want to go back to the
Okay.
video.
Wait, okay, Andrea, you first. Which one is their best song?
Damn it.
Janet?
That was off their.
That
That was a hidden track off the third album.
That's when you play the song
Oh,
backwards.
no, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me is obviously their best.
Oh, really?
But-
Oh,
Miss Me Blind. Miss Me Blind.
Church of the Poison Mind is also good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a Karma Chameleon convert. That's my jam from them.
I got one more video question here for all of you.
Wait. What's your favorite?
Mine?
Kirk? Christopher?
Miss Me Blind.
Oh, okay. Christopher?
Poison Mind. But it's so funny because going back to Karma Chameleon, even though it's not my favorite one, it's like the first one that I always go to when I think of Boy George.
Sure.
Because we either think about karma, you know, or
Yeah.
red, gold, and green. You know, it's one of those, it's like that damn song, Do the Potty Dance, from the pull-ups commercial on TV. It's like it gets stuck in
hell are
your
you watching?
mind and you just start singing it randomly.
I am so glad I only use streaming services.
Oh.
That's an old commercial. That's like a
Commercial.
90s, maybe 2000s commercial.
So there you go. It's my age range. Anyways, but it's one of those songs that I tend to go to first when I think of Boy George.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
But your favorite Culture Club song then, Christopher?
Poison Mind.
Poison Mind too. Okay.
And the
I'm gonna have to
worst,
give
I
that a
would say,
re-listen.
is the war song.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one either. I got one more video question here. I just want to sort of ask that. I was trying to find in my research, like pretty much how this was sort of produced. I wonder if they sort of thought, okay, well, there's the harmonica in it. Is that why they tried to do this weird throwback thing?
I don't think so.
Like, I got no theory because it doesn't, I don't see
Well-
why.
Boy George wrote it apparently when he was in Egypt. So of course it makes sense to base it in Mississippi. No, so
You could have
I
done
don't-
the Nile, but instead you did Mississippi.
Well,
or
I'm in
the
denial
Thames.
as to how this really came about.
Dun-dum-dum. They can't all be winning.
Denial is the longest river in Africa.
And also a state of mind.
And let's face it, there's a lot of music videos in the 80s that don't really make sense.
Oh,
Hey,
100%.
I think we've reviewed a few of them.
Why
Yeah.
why was that guy trapped in the drawing in Take on Me?
Oh,
Why is a 40-plus-year-old cheerleading in Oh Mickey?
because she's
Well,
so fine.
Because
he
she's
was
got
so
crazy eyes, and I kind of got a thing for that.
hey Mickey, you're so fun.
You're
So fun. You blow my money.
fine. You've already got that. That was again in the before times.
Yes, we did Mickey back then. Well, some of us did.
Some of us did. Some of us did.
Some of
Some of
us
us
still
did.
do Mickey.
I have never done Mickey. I don't know about you, but that sort of furry action is not my thing.
I've drank a Mickey.
Yeah, like how often do we do Mickey? Sometimes Mickey comes over and I share a bed with him. Or-
What you do, Mickey? Do Mickey? Don't break my heart, Mickey.
Then don't leave me, bitch. No.
All right, so back on track. Do we have anything else to say about Boy George Culture Club?
Well, okay. I just just closing off. This was, I guess, I don't know if it was their high water mark, but because they remained on top for a few more years. It's kind of funny because like even on the site, right? Because on the great website, nothalloffame.com, shameless plug, where Culture Club is featured as one of the artists who were not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. My fine webmaster sort of like placed sort of ads like so, and I didn't know they were still touring.
Yes, they
Without
had like
Ron.
3 resurgences with, and sometimes different members.
I was gonna say, I know they tried to do one without Boy George, and that didn't go over so well.
Well, because you can't. I mean, and which is sort of a shame too, because again, those 3 are fantastic musicians,
It's like Queen touring without Freddie.
but they still do it.
I know they
And
still
it's
do
still really popular.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I couldn't go and see them even if I had the opportunity to. I couldn't with Freddie. Absolutely, I wish I would have had a chance to see Freddie live because
Yeah.
holy shit, that man could hold an audience in the palm of his hand.
Brian May seems like one of those people. Like if you met him at a party, it's like, oh my God, you're Brian May, and then 5 minutes later, I think I see my friend over there.
Yeah. Why, yes, I am indeed Brian May. Did you want to talk about me?
So
You know, it's-
Boy George, the band basically deteriorated because of relationship
Heroin.
issues,
Heroin.
and because he rapidly deteriorated into a heroin addiction.
Mm-hmm.
That he has been in and out of rehab for many times. Then he got a pretty decent career as a DJ for a while.
He did.
And
I
then
spun a
he
lot of his
spent
stuff.
a few months in jail for
Was he in jail?
he was in jail for handcuffing and beating with a chain a model. I want to say Norwegian model.
I think that's just called foreplay.
Well, in Norway.
Which is probably why he only served like 4 months in jail out of his year-plus sentence. But yes, technically, I believe kidnapping and assault was the charges.
You know, right before midgets have sex, it's not foreplay, it's 2-play.
Oh my God.
Now
Two
you're getting
play
Brad
or two
excited
pie?
about midget sex. Just don't.
You know, there's that. The joke wasn't good, but the visuals on point.
I'm sure there's a niche for it. So no, this was
That niche is right there. He's probably not in that screen, in your screen, but he's in
My
that
name is
screen.
Niche.
Anyway, Andrea, I think you've got something for next week. What do you got?
Mhm. We're moving forward a decade or so.
Moving right along.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about some blonde-haired farm boys from Arkansas, I believe, in 1997.
No.
Backstreet Boys. Thank you for having me on this episode and not inviting me on.
You don't want
that
to come play
episode.
with Hanson?
No. I know nothing about them. I don't want to learn anything about them.
The only thing
I know that
about
currently
Hanson-
one of them is like super pro guns, NRA.
Oh, there's a shock.
The only thing I know about Hanson really is that they are the winger of pop music.
Okay, well, this song's actually a guilty pleasure of mine. So like, I think it's actually pretty damn good. Yes.
Only
It's
because they use it
surprisingly
in
good when you actually
For
dissect
what it
it.
is, yes.
Did you also like Criss Cross?
It might
Jump, jump. The Mac Dad'll make you jump, jump.
Yeah, about as lyrically
that's
deep.
actually
No,
my-
actually,
my wife's
Hanson's got some decent lyrics in there.
Really.
all right.
Yeah,
That-
we'll have a
that's
good
pretty
discussion about it next week. Let's
All
not.
right, now it's promotion time.
Hey, Kirk,
Kirk.
did you write a book?
I wrote a book. Christopher, you saw my book, right?
Yes.
Because
it's in
he's
the
really
mail.
into pro wrestling.
Might be.
Hey, I used to be big into WWF.
All right. So
Only for the homoerotic side of it.
I was 8.
In Chris's case, it's just regular erotic. You don't need to add the other bit.
okay, well,
Thanks for making things awkward.
well, the book I wrote, Chavo Guerrero Instant Classic, There Is No Gay Sex. Sorry.
Womp womp.
I'm out.
Well, you can check that out on Amazon. Chavo Guerrero Instant Classic about the late great Chavo Guerrero Sr., written by me.
So, Kirk, in relation to like doing stuff like this, you don't, cheat on us and do other stuff, do you?
No, I do have other shows. I do have other
Like
shows.
what?
You're doing other shows and you didn't tell us about that?
Yeah, well, there's the weekly Hall of Fame show with Evan Nolan, where every week we look and dissect the Hall of Fame related news because it's not on halloffame.com. That's what we do. Also, too, check out the fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, created by this guy right here. So check that out, nothalloffame.com/USA. All this on the Buchnerverse.
Nevers.
Mhm.
I still think we should do an episode on Anne Murray.
Did she get number? I don't think she got number 1 in the States, but when
She did.
she did?
She did.
For
Oh,
what?
I don't know. I know
You
she did.
needed me probably, and we didn't need that.
I'm not done promoting.
Christopher will invite you back when we go for some Anne Murray.
All right. Well, Chris Bourdain and I were going to do another episode of how the hell this crap was on national television. We were going to do Automan. Brad, I'm sorry, we're not now because the Automan pilot that we found is now removed from YouTube. So we've now changed it to the Harlem Globetrotters Visit Gilligan's Island.
Oh, that's so
Sounds
good.
amazing.
Yeah,
But that was
So-
only the one episode.
it was removed from YouTube. What do you want?
No, I mean, there was only the one episode that the Harlem Globetrotters went to visit Gilligan's
Yeah, but
Island.
it's a TV movie, so this crap is on national television.
Okay, all right.
We've done
So
TV.
they went to the island saying, hey, look at me spin my balls, and then left them there.
That might have been better than what actually transpired.
It's almost as good as the Star Wars Christmas special.
A holiday special, and we did do that.
Yes, that was one of the early ones you did.
I
Those were
have
the early ones
never
that I
made
did
it all the
too.
way through that. I can't get all the way through Two Girls, One Cup, and I can't get all the way through the holiday.
Why are you
special.
even trying?
Two girls, what?
One
Don't.
Cup?
Don't.
Don't.
You probably can't find it anymore.
Two girls? No, okay, I want to know. Two girls, what? What was this? Two girls, one what? Dump?
Don't.
Think of really gross soft serve. That's so nasty, it makes you throw up.
Two girls, one dump. Okay.
No, One Cup.
Oh, I heard two
But
girls,
yes.
one dump.
No, don't Google it. And please, dear listener, don't.
Don't Google it. We take no responsibility for you even knowing that this exists.
All right. Well,
It was
fine.
my fault. I thought it was a universal thing.
I thought it was a universal thing too.
All right, I'm going to close this off.
On
topic.
that shitty note,
On that shit. Well, apparently, literally, yeah.
Yeah, that and
I don't
other
know.
bodily.
Wherever you
fluids.
are, wherever you may be, stay safe, everyone, and tune into all the other things on the Buchnerverse.